Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookie Cast. Today on Cookie Cast, it's football podcast. We've got football. The football season is drawing to a close, somewhat, but there are still games to come. There are still games to go through. There's still football, so keep on going. Keep the football podcast going. That's how they do it. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe, and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. Obviously, the biggest one, the one that makes the most impact. Share that podcast around. If you've got a football fan in your life, send them this podcast. They will love it. Right. Let's get started. Here we go. This is Cookie Cast, the football podcast.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to another week right here on the Cookie Cast Football Podcast. Obviously, for those of you watching us on YouTube, you'll just see the three faces of Borough, Hull, and Nottingham Forest staring back at you. No Mr. Cook this week. I believe in the wrestling they would say that he's on assignment. So we'll go with that. We'll just say that he's on assignment. But I am joined by Messrs. Woodmansey and Moore. How are we this week, gents? Yes. Well,
all of it.
I believe that response tells you pretty much all you need to know from the result perspective. So let's rip that plaster off straight away. And we will go to a game that 66% of the people on this particular call were at in person, as Hull City took on Derby County in a, not winner takes all, but it was certainly winner puts themselves in a much better position from a relegation threat perspective. Was it not, Mr. Woodmansey?
I think the official title I was going with by the end of the weekend was winner doesn't make 24,500 of their fans feel like shit for the rest of the weekend. Yeah.
Did Derby even have that many fans?
Well, maybe back in Derby, not in the stadium that we were sat in. But Hull had been really building this one. They'd pushed the ticket sales, like all through the week in the lead up to the game. It was being billed as the one that they needed to win because if they won, they were definitely safe. And it was actually declared a sellout ahead of kickoff. Although Matt might be able to confirm this. Definitely not every seat taken when we were there. There was a few patches here and there. So whether it was just season ticket holders who have had enough of this shit by now, who knows? But there were a few empty seats dotted. The team really needed to the crowd to give them the energy, and to be honest, I think they probably did. It was they were trying to get the atmosphere that they'd got at the Preston game, and to start with, certainly, like I say, they did. But unfortunately, the game evolved into one of low quality, and the team gave absolutely nothing for the crowd to get excited about. Hull did dominate possession, but had no real end product. There was an early effort scuffed by Regan Slater, probably the best chance of the first half, and it wasn't even that much of a chance. But then he himself was subbed off for injury inside the first 15 minutes. Stephen Alzate came on, didn't have the worst game in replacement, but again, forwards with football seems to be a problem, which is not good for a team that needs to win. I've literally got in the notes nothing really else to say about the rest of the game until the 84th minute when Hull were once again undone by a set piece. Centre half Nat Phillips rose highest to head home from a free kick. Now, the free kick was given away out on the Derby's left side by Alfie Jones, who he'd been subbed on for John Egan. It was probably Alfie Jones's real first involvement in the game, and he went flying in. For me, it wasn't even really a foul. I think the foul was probably given because the foot that touched the ball was sliding along the ground. The foot that was above that was above that in the air. So I think it probably looked a bit more reckless, but for my money, it wasn't even really a foul. Needless to say, that's usually the time when things go to well, ball was pretty much put on the penalty spot, and as I say, Nat Phillips headed in. Um, Interestingly, in a game that we definitely needed to win, Ruben Sayers decided not to bring on Pedro, Crooks, or Burstow until the 88th minute. So 4 minutes after we were already 1-0 down. And he then brought them all on at once. I think, is it something horse and gate and bolted or something to that effect? Um, to me, more than anything, that was just proof that he'd played for a draw and, as the scientists say, absolutely fucked it. So, yeah, not a great game. Disastrous result that puts Hull now in the bottom three. I'm sure at some point later in the podcast we'll go into the whole formula of who, what, why, where, and when needs to happen in the coming weekend with regards to them now staying in the division. But this result definitely did not help that cause. So 1-0 to Derby with Phillips the goal scorer.
Yeah, probably the understatement of the century. A season to forget at home, shall we
I
say?
mean, even last year when we did all right, the home form was what undid us. Um, they were obviously looking to improve that this season by sacking two managers in the space of 6 months, and that really worked a treat. So, um, yeah, a season to forget. I would have written this season off in November if that was a permissible thing, and just had it called then.
Something I heard the other day that concerned me was the fact that they've only won more than one game consecutively once this season, and it was only had a three-game winning spell under the previous manager.
Well, they only
Well,
need to win one game on Saturday. It's not like they need to win two or three on the trot kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, kind of obviously Stu gave the kind of whole. I wouldn't even call the glass half empty. Kind of half of it was empty, and the rest was spilt on the floor.
Dregs, wasn't it? I think we're at dregs at this point.
But
well,
what I
spilt
would
on the
say
floor
is,
or drunk by your worst enemy whilst they were flicking the V's in your face might be.
well, like Hull dominated the possession of the ball. Derby didn't offer much. And my dad texted me to see how, like, well, what was it like, and I was like, not good. But Hull looked out of the two teams. Hull looked like the better side. That I think, like I said to Stuart at the time, the thing that Hull are missing. I think for me, there's an element of playing scared, and I think we listened to a thing on the radio where Louis Coyle said someone asked him, "Were you playing scared?" And he went, "No, we're not playing scared." And I was like, "100% you are playing scared, and you're probably one of the players who are playing the most scared because there's no like." They're not playing like that ball on the inside channel that would break a defense. It's kind of, oh no, we'll pass it, we'll play that extra pass sideways or that extra pass sideways. And it just really was kind of stagnant. Again, like again, the striker, is it Kyle Joseph? I mean, Stu said, guess how many goals he scored for us since January? I was like, well, he just 100% looks like a striker who's never going to score a goal. So I went with zero and he scored zero. And I think there's like a lot of lovely, nice play. Um, but there's nothing much kind of once you get towards the box. Like, is it Gelhardt had a couple of decent chances. Um, Amrabat.
Yeah.
On the wing, he looked decent, but like as you said, and a lot of other people around us said, he has zero pace, even like negative. I think there's sometimes I generally think he might have gone backwards, while trying to go forwards at times.
There was one run that he made down our left wing where it did actually it's sort of spawned a chance in the second half whereby he managed to get to the byline eventually and play the ball back across right across the penalty spot. But to me, this is the sign of a team that aren't well drilled in the sense of he is a winger, that is his job. Where was anybody from the rest of the strikers, the midfield, whatever? Where were they following up? The ball just freely rolled across, no defenders near it, nobody attacking the ball. But the reason I mentioned that is because the method, as Matt said, that he got to the byline wasn't through pace. It was pretty much tapping the ball against the oncoming defender, shoulder barging them out of the way, and almost playing like a 1-2 with them. And he did it twice to get past people.
But yeah, Derby, they snatched the game. I think that's what they've been doing since Eustace got there. Yeah, they weren't much cop. They just got the goal, and it was one of them games that the only goal was going to win it. I thought the free kick was harsh. You know, but it's unfortunately they had the one chance that they needed, and it was kind of one of them moments. As soon as that free kick happened, you're kind of like, yeah, heart in boots kind of here kind of thing, because you kind of almost knew what was going to happen. So yeah, it was kind of one of them ones where it's obviously once again everybody knows who I support, but it's not a kind of biased thing. But the I'll say the better team didn't win, but that's like better team with faint praise kind of thing almost. But yeah.
I kept turning to Rich during the game and saying one goal's going to win this, and I didn't specify either way because, like you said, once that free kick was given, you knew what was coming. The majority of Derby's goals, I believe, have been scored from set pieces, whether it's been free kicks, corners, or long throws this season. So, that just makes it more dire, the fact that they weren't prepared for it.
I believe they've only been outdone in that particular regard by Oxford United, who you may remember from this podcast from a couple of weeks ago, scored against both the Borough and Hull from set pieces. So yeah, not great. So bad on the field from a Hull perspective, bad in the podcast realm from a predictions perspective. No one got any points on this one because who in their right mind would predict a Derby County away win? Only two of us gave Derby goals. That was me and Matt. I went for Matt Clark to score. Matt went for Jerry Yates to score. I was almost there because Matt Clark at one point looked like he only was peeling off the. He was looking like he was getting on the end of that header, and Phillips just out jumped him. So that'd have been somewhat of a consolation, but not really. So no points through our first game. And it doesn't get much better in our second game, ladies and gentlemen, as Middlesbrough were taking on Norwich City off the back of the result that had happened at the 12:30 kickoff, where Luton beat Coventry. Middlesbrough went into this game knowing that their fate was entirely in their own hands. All they had to do was beat Norwich, and then, not saying they could let things happen against Coventry, they'd still need to go out and at least get a draw or potentially win. But it was nice and simple. Win your last two, you're in the playoffs. So, of course, they played out a very, very depressing 0-0 draw in which they were very much the second best side. So 2 games in the spin where a team that has nothing to play for as their season is over have played against the Borough and basically done a bit of a job on them. There wasn't really many chances to discuss in the entirety of the game. From what I've seen on the highlights, Hackney had a chance from the edge of the box that was smartly tipped on the post by the keeper. Aidan Morris had one saved down low, little sort of snatched shot where the keeper had to sort of get down low to just tip it onto the post. They were both in the first half. I think Norwich flashed one over in the same half. And from the highlights that I saw, the second half was pretty much just entirely Norwich. Sainz had one that he sent over the top from the edge of the box. He then had a chance where he drew a smart save from Travers. The rebound fell to Sargent, and Travers was back up smartly to smother that second chance. And then the final chance I've got written down was that again it was Aidan Morris that was sort of charging forward. We managed to have an effort tipped onto the post. Again, good save by the keeper. It was one of those ones that need saving, otherwise it probably would have squirmed in. Yeah, just annoying. Petered out to a 0-0 draw. Again, just so many times this season where Borough have had it in their own hands, just win and just don't have to worry about it. But toiled away, weren't able to get the result, and they're now going to the last game against Coventry, knowing that they absolutely have to win. And even then, that might not be enough. If either Blackburn or Millwall get a win, they'll miss out on the playoffs regardless. So, yeah, bit of a disastrous 2-game spell for the Borough. They've gone from, like I say, having it perfectly within their own hands to now looking for results elsewhere. And for the second game running, it's not a great result for the podcast either. Everyone had a Borough win in very different regards. Stu 1-0, Matt Andy 2-0, Matt 2-1, me 3-1. So 0 points across the board there. Not ideal. Let's hope we get some solace from the third and final game of the week, which took us to Wembley Stadium for the second of 2 FA Cup semi-finals. Crystal Palace beating Aston Villa on the Saturday to set up their place in the final. Could Nottingham Forest join them when they took on Manchester City? 2 minutes in, I think we kind of got the flavour of how this one was going to go, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem was, I think I would definitely message you guys when the team came out. I was immediately like, this doesn't look good. To be fair, young Abbott, who I think became the youngest player to play at Wembley since Marcus Rashford played at Wembley as 18. I think Marcus Rashford was like 18 and 209 days old. Abbott was 340 odd day, 18 and 340 odd days old. So yeah, the youngest player to play at Wembley since Marcus Rashford played at Wembley at 18 years old. He wasn't the problem. I don't get it. I think I was speaking to my physio yesterday about it, and for some reason, Nuno at the moment has become the thing that I feared he would be when we appointed him last December. Of don't lose, don't lose, don't lose, don't lose. Try and win it late on, as opposed to what we've done all season is go and win it and then hang on for dear life. Either way is not great, but I prefer the other way because we've won games doing it that way. So the moment that I saw that Elanga was on the bench, I thought that was weird. Obviously, I think there was some kind of construction within the team to support young Abbott making his debut. I mean, make your debut for Forest. Well, make your full professional debut, start in an FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. Is pretty big anyway. But obviously, I think they tried to surround him with Nico Dominguez and other players in midfield just to kind of support that kind of attack down that side. Man City just went straight through the middle. I think it was a nice little passing move. It was one of those ones where you're like, oh yeah, this looks dangerous, and oh yeah, Forest haven't switched on, and I don't know who was to blame. Multiple people, Anderson, Danilo, Murillo. Take your pick out of those three. I would say for me that it was their area of the pitch that he should have been picked up in. Nice little passing move, nice turn by Lewis, and he tucks it in the back of the net after 2 minutes. I was concerned that the floodgates would open from there, but to be fair, Forest kind of, I just want to say hang on, really. They didn't really create much in the first half. It was a bit of a lonely kind of thing for Chris Wood at the front. You could see that Gibbs White was getting annoyed as well and frustrated because he couldn't quite get himself, they just couldn't get anything in the game. Anderson was a bit disappointing as well. The most disappointing player, however, was Danilo. He was not at the races on Sunday. So he got the hook at half time to bring on, shock horror, Anthony Elanga, who, again, shock horror, had the Man City defence in absolute fits because he is, what's the phrase? Fast as fuck. Elanga having from that kind of creativity and that space that he managed to create, having a really good chance and just knocking it yard past the outside of the post. And yeah, cue what happens there. Yeah, Man City went down the other end, and Guardiola scored the equaliser. Not the equaliser, the second. So a more uphill task, but then Forest seemed to grow into the game further. Like from then on, and maybe I'm not remembering it particularly well. Man City didn't seem to have many chances after that. They kind of seemed to sit back a little bit, but Forest then proceeded to have all the chances. Gibbs White hit the crossbar. Apparently, he said in his post-match interview he has never hit the ball sweeter with his left foot, which is his weak foot. You can imagine if you hadn't quite hit it quite as sweet, that would have either hit the bottom of the bar and gone in or just gone in. So that was a good hit. That was one of them ones where you kind of think, yeah, it's kind of you see that when you think, yeah, it's probably not our day. Then his second chance, don't know who it was. Was it Gvardiol who played the ball? Well, he got dispossessed, didn't he? And Gibbs White took it round the keeper and just knocked it too far, and then therefore hit the post. So we've got the crossbar, we've got the post, and then what was it, like maybe 10 minutes from the end? It felt a little bit white flaggish when they took Wood off and brought Taiwo on and Sangare, but they seemed to kind of maintain the kind of effort that was in. And then there was a bit of a melee around the goal. Taiwo hit the post because it just kind of came to him and reacted. It's kind of one of them things where you think maybe if Chris would have been there, he might have tucked it away. But still, though, you don't know. And then obviously the ball was played back across, and Gibbs White headed it, but couldn't quite get enough power on it to kind of. He couldn't redirect it. / he couldn't really power it into the back of the net. Yeah, so then unfortunately petered out to a 2-0 Man City win. Yeah, I feel like we should have gone out and tried to win it in the first half. I think if they would have gone Hudson-Odoi, Alanga, played the usual team and just gone out and maybe gone for it, maybe we would have got stuffed 3-0, but it's no different than losing 2-0 for me. But we might have won it as well.
Like if you're in a cup game, the final score in that regard wouldn't have made a difference, would it? If they'd have gone for it, goal difference doesn't matter anymore, does it? So just crack on.
Correct. Yeah, like you say, like it's kind of the point I'm going to raise when we come on to the Borough game coming up. Like you've got nothing to lose really, so just you might get pumped 6-0, but at least you gave it a go, trying to get like. I always think because I've been to see Borough play at Wembley once, and they didn't score. So in the back of my mind, I'm just thinking if they ever get back, obviously I'd want them to win, but the first thing I'd want them to do is score because I just want to see them score at Wembley. And even if your team loses, if you get that, it's like a little sort of consolation of sorts and stuff like that. But again, yeah, if you sit back, you kind of sort of just asking for problems straight off the bat. And whilst they obviously did try, and they had the chances from Gibbs White and Wanya and stuff like that, the fact that they were like carved open within the first 90 seconds definitely set the tone for the first half, and it took them until like midway through the first half to get a bit of a grip and stuff like that. But yeah, I suppose at least they can say they had like they got to Wembley at the sort of so
I think
know
it's
obviously when they put in there.
I still maintain that like we wouldn't be even worrying about this if they'd have got knocked out in like the fourth round or third round or whatever, and they're still in the league position that they're in now. Everything should be aimed at that at this point in time. That was a nice little bonus had they got to the final. And when you're one game away, yeah, it's probably a bit more disappointing. But right now, I think, as Matt was saying about that whole almost like shift in culture of get in front, then worry about it, as opposed to sit back, and then try and nick it. Obviously, from the game we saw at the weekend, Matt, as well, I'd already had enough of that shit by that point. But they can't play out the rest of their league games by trying to nick a game. Then the
No.
reason they've been such a force this season is because they've been a breath of fresh air and just taking games to teams, and they need to that's the way they need to see out the season for my money.
The worst thing is they're going to play four teams out of the next five that are going to quite happily let them potter about and tinker about and not do a whole lot. You know, there's only the last game of the season where the other team is actually going to come and force the issue. The other four teams that we play are going to be like, all right, you crack on because we don't give a shit because we're done for the year. I just think they kind of, it's the same again. Oh, Forest was so good in the second half. Well, we had that against Newcastle after they got stuffed. We had that against Villa after they got stuffed. And you just think, yeah, that needs to change. We can't just go out there with this kind of like, all right, we'll be a little bit passive and we'll try not to lose in the first half and then we'll go and win it in the second half. No, go and fucking win it in the first half and deal with the second half afterwards.
Yeah. Yep. So what all in all was a pretty depressing week. I know Borough didn't get beat, but to all intents and purposes, it was as bad as a defeat. To be fair,
And they didn't
um,
score either, did they? So
and they didn't score. So 3 games, no goals for any of our teams. Yeah, fucking shit, really, isn't it? To be honest with you. Predictions wise, Andy had a 2-1 Forest win. Wood, Ilanga, and Bernardo Silva with the goals, so no points for him. Stuart had a 1-1 draw. Wood and De Bruyne, no points for him. I had a 2-2 draw. Gibbs White, Elanga, Savinho, and Mamouche, no points for me. We've finally done it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got ourselves a point on the board for the week. Matt had a 3-1 Manchester City win. Elanga, Marmouche, O'Reilly, and McAtee. So no goal scorers, but does get the result correct. So yay. Matt gets the one and only point for the week. Well done. That's the book. Done and dusted. No more pages left in it. I even had to use the back of the inside cover just to get the last game sorted. So
you couldn't just have had another 2 or 3 pages in it
I
for the
know
season, could you?
all it needed, and the worst thing is, I'm pretty sure I've torn a couple of pages out of that book.
Oh,
So fresh book for the last few games of the season. It brings with it this week 4 games, 4 tasty games, but we don't have time to talk about those now. We're going to have to take a small break before we talk about the 4 games that we have to bring in this week. So don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short interlude. And just like that, the break is over and we are back. So, not to pull the curtain back too much, but when Mr. Woodmansey found out we had 4 games to predict, to say that he shat himself would be an understatement, as he realised that on his paper he only had 3 games written down. So this first game is going to come as much of a shock, or would have done, had I just run straight into it. So, our first game for week 36 sees Nottingham Forest taking on Brentford in what I'm assuming is the game they would have played at the weekend had they not been in FA Cup action.
Yeah.
So this is effectively Forest's game in hand, as it were, over the teams that did complete their fixtures at the weekend. It's Mr. Moore's team. He will give his prediction last. I'll go in here with Mr. Cook's prediction. And my prediction, as they're both exactly the same for some bizarre reason. So we've both gone for a 2-0 Nottingham Forest win. And we've both gone for Wood and Gibbs White to be the goal scorers. So that was nice and easy. Stu?
I was a bit worried when he said that because I felt mine was a little bit Route One out of the realms of Mr. Cook. I don't know. I had a quick flick through the last few results, and with the exception of the win against Spurs, which is kind of like seemingly given away to every team at the moment. No offense, man. I feel like they need to maybe steady it a little bit, and they're at home. I just have a cheeky little 1-0 Wood.
Yeah, but who's your goal scorer?
Yeah.
1-0. Woody. Yes, how do you see it playing out, Matt? Are you concerned, or are we at the point where we've hit the 4 cup finals sort of scenario?
I'm concerned. I think I set it out in the previous part of the podcast. I'm worried that Nuno's reverted back to the concern that all Forest fans had, that he is a defensive manager as opposed to an attacking manager. I don't think the players are scared to go out and win. I kind of get the feeling that he's kind of scared to go out and win.
Do you think he's more of a don't lose the game, see if you
Yeah.
can nick it sort of a manager? Yeah.
I think that's what he's turned into. I think that's the unfortunate thing. He's turned into that kind of since Wood went out injured almost. I think it's kind of like, so I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I've also gone for Chris Wood to score. Hopefully we can get him back up and firing. And I'm thinking this is where I've got my Brentford players mixed up. It was Visser that we were trying to buy in the winter. I kind of get the feeling that might come back and bite us on the backside tomorrow night.
Not to date the podcast in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But yes, that would be good for my fantasy team. Not good for your actual team.
That's what we're all here to care about.
I believe in that case, I believe the phrase would be, well, fuck your fantasy team. So,
I mean, I think I've effectively said that, but in a slightly more polite manner.
our second game of 4 takes us to the weekend and is the final fixture of the season, potentially, for my lot. Middlesbrough as Coventry City take on Middlesbrough. I will be in attendance at this game.
Ooh.
So, I will give my prediction last. Andy's gone straight in here with a 2-0 Middlesbrough win. He's gone for Azaz and Fours to get the goals. Obviously, before I gave Andy's prediction, I should have said, obviously, like I said before, Borough need to win this one, and even then, might not be enough to get in the playoffs if Blackburn or Millwall win. There is a scenario that they can win and still get in if one of those two win. But we'll do the predictions for the week. Then we'll cover off all the permutations that affect Borough and Hull from that regard. Matt, what have you got down for Coventry versus the Borough?
I've gone for a bit like gung-ho, both teams going at it and possibly both costing each other. I've gone for a 2-2 draw. I'll give you my Borough scorers first. Azaz and Connolly. And you should be worried because last game of the season-ish, I've gone for Latibo Dier.
Oh, God.
He's the right back. He's 100% not scoring, but I just wanted to make you write it
You know
out.
what? Honestly, I'm pretty sure in previous games, I have seen him sort of pop up in positions that he has no business being in, so it wouldn't surprise me if he scored.
Yeah, so Latibo Dier, and I'm trying to fill that new notebook you've got. And Borges Rodriguez.
Oh,
Or Borges
Lord.
Rodriguez.
I mean, it'd be nice if it was like a good old-fashioned English guy like Brandon Thomas Asante and had a nice hyphen there, but it's not. It's just greedy. He's got like 8 names.
The only way that could have been any better when it's Paul writing it down would have been that if we found out it was Chilean and he'd given up his Chilean nationality to play for an English side. Now, that is a very, very niche joke, and regular listeners may understand that. But if not, answers on a postcard, please.
Yeah, he's changed his name from Borges to just like Barry or something like
Steve,
yeah. Sorry, when you said the Borough goal scorer, did you say Azaz and Connolly?
Conway, sorry, yeah. Conway, sorry.
He's really trying to stick it to you tonight, Paul. That's the.
I was like, honestly, have I suffered some sort of like horrendous like brain trauma? And Aaron Conley's back at the club.
Conway, and you got myself confused.
God,
I was very
no one
confident
needs
when I
that
got
in their life. Ooh, terrifying thought. Stu.
Um, you'll be pleased to know, in some regards, a very similar vein to Matt, but not with the goal scoring names. um, I think they will probably both be going at it and end up cancelling each other out. So I've got a 1-1 draw. I've got Conway to score for Borough and Rodoni to score for Coventry. As a little side note, Paul, if you've seen as you're going to be in the area, and as I am a Radio X Chris Moyles listener on a morning, he is going to be in the area doing a gig, and it was supposed to be on the night, and they've brought it forward to just after the game. So now, purely because he is a Leeds fan, and potentially Borough could spoil Coventry's party, it would be awesome if Borough did win and could piss all over that parade and irritate the Leeds fan as well, please. So little bit of added pressure, but I would love it if tuning into the radio on Monday morning, the shine had just been taken off his weekend by potentially Leeds winning the title. By ruining the rest of this Saturday would be incredible.
Well, so to clarify that, we've had 2 draws, a Borough win. So, of course, I've got to complete the set by going for my Coventry City 2-1 win. They're one of those teams that have just got the Indian side over us. Like they just, I mean, the only thing I will say is that was a Mark Robbins led Coventry City, and this is a best manager that England's ever produced, Frank Lampard led Coventry City. So I fully buy into the both teams know they need to win. So you could get that cancelling each other out thing. I almost prefer the fact that Borough go into this knowing what they need to do, rather than like knowing that they could potentially get a draw and still get in. So there can be no excuses on this one for Carrick. He has to set the team up to be on the front foot. They have to press. They have to go for this. They can't sit back and hope to catch him on the break and sneak a 1-0. They have to put a marker down here. They have to go out early doors, hit him hard, hit him early, and just, if anything, blow him out of the water. But I don't think he's got it in him. From what we've seen this season, he's taken a massive regression in a tactical perspective, and I just don't know if his heart's in it anymore. It's almost like he's managing the team to get sacked. That's what it feels like. It's just odd. It's really strange. I think they did an interview with him. I don't know if it was after this game or after the Sheffield Wednesday game on Easter Monday. And he was asked something like, "Are the players even like, you know, if they don't make the playoffs, are you looking at it as like a disappointing season?" And he was like, "No, I also don't think you should be asking me that sort of question." It's like, no. He absolutely should be asking that sort of question, because the performances the players are putting in, that's what it feels like. So, yeah, I don't know if something's gone on behind the scenes where he's just not asked anymore. But yeah, there's loads of Borough fans that even if they get in the playoffs, they just want the season to be over anyway. So it's a bit of a strange one. But I've gone for a 2-1 Coventry win. I've gone for Wright and Sims to score for Coventry, and because it's the last game of the season, I've gone for Whitaker to score because he hasn't yet. So I'm thinking he's got to break his duck at some point. So yes, in my sort of set of rules, that would definitely have Borough finishing not in the playoffs. So there will be no more Borough games to go this season. Andy, they might get in. Stuart and Matt, they wouldn't get in either. So we'll wait and see. Next up, it's probably the most important game of the week, as Portsmouth take on Hull City. A draw might be enough if results go their way. A win is definitely enough. Win the game and they can't be relegated. I know this because Stoke play Derby and both of those teams can't win. So Hull, nice and simple, win the game and you're in the Championship next season. Obviously, It's Mr. Woodmansey's team. He will give his prediction last. Matt, I'll come to you first. What have you got down for Portsmouth versus Hull?
I've gone for a 1-0 Hull win.
Nice. Goal scorer?
Pedro. He came on and looked lively.
For 4 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot to say. I said he looked lively, considering the other however many had 86 to kind of do something. And I was like, he came on and looked lively.
Okay, 1-0 Hull win in the books. Andy has gone for a 1-1 draw, which, as we discussed before, may be enough if Preston don't win.
I've got all this. We can go through this in a minute.
Yep. He's on for Blair to score for Portsmouth, Crooks to score for Hull. I have kind of agreed with him. I think this one might be a draw as well. I've gone for 2-2. I've gone for Bishop and Saidi, Portsmouth, Joao Pedro and Gelhardt for Hull. So we turn it over to the main man himself, who's going to break down exactly how many goals Portsmouth will score past Hull and why he feels they're going to lose.
Okay. I might go through the whole thing and then finish with the prediction, if that's all right with you.
I like it.
So, in the sense of the bottom part of the championship from 18th through to 23rd, all of the teams can have a hand in staying up. Obviously, the magic number is 21 in this equation. You need to be 21 or lower. Stoke are in 18th with 50. Derby are in 19th with 49. Preston in 20th with 49. Luton in 21st with 49. Then the top of the relegation space is currently Hull on 48, and one below is Plymouth on 46. I hadn't included Cardiff in this because they did everybody a favour and finally got put out of their misery last weekend. And also, congratulations on booking your Player of the Season awards for the last home game of the season, in which you got relegated. Smart move. Yeah. So, of the teams, as Paul rightly pointed out, Stoke play Derby. So that's 18th and 19th playing each other. So in theory, if Stoke win, that puts Derby on 49 still. Hull can reach them. If Derby win, that puts them on 52 and Stoke on 50. Hull can reach them with a win. Preston are away to Bristol City, who got thumped by Leeds the other night, but also need to win to solidify their playoff contention. So Bristol at home are a different side. So again, that could work in our favour. The one that's annoying me a little bit, Luton are away to West Brom, who are safely in the land of don't give a fuck either way, pal. So that could be a bit of a strange one, and Luton probably have a better chance, I reckon, with that. Obviously, ourselves are away to Portsmouth. Nice little local trip, just the 5.5 hours on a bus, I think it is. I think the coaches are setting off at something like 4 in the morning from Hull, so that'll be fun. And Plymouth, the team below us, are at home to Leeds, who need to win the championship title. So, with the exception of Luton, everybody in that bottom section are all playing for a reason. Go on.
Plymouth need an absolute miracle.
They do.
Horrific.
They need a goal swing of 14. They are down.
That is true, but still, it's not mathematically done quite yet. So I'm still have to mention them. As Paul rightly pointed out, then basically we win and we're in, and we don't win, and there's a chance of the bin, as it were. A draw could do it, but then we need Luton, Preston, or Derby to lose, and Hull could squeak by on goal difference. Again, the complication there is how many Derby would have to lose by, because they're two better than us on goal difference at the moment. So there's all sorts of stuff that could happen. It definitely feels like it's the closest end to a season for a long time, but for all the wrong reasons.
I think the closest it would have been was the season that Derby actually stayed up. So I think they went into that where it was them, Rotherham, Sheff Wednesday, and maybe one other team that could have gone down.
But had Rotherham got promoted the season before, because then
Almost definitely.
they were probably right from the off. Everybody already knew. So we've had the connotation of Hull need to win or draw. We've also spoken about with Matt about how when we watched them at the weekend, they looked like they were scared to play. It's absolutely going to happen again. I can see us losing. So I have got Portsmouth 2, Hull 1. And possibly in the most Hull fashion ever, they'll probably go 1-0 up and then lose 2-1. So I've got Bishop and Murphy to score for Portsmouth and Gelhardt for Hull. He ran his absolute nuts off in every game I've seen him play. I think if we go down, obviously there's no chance he'll sign for us, but like officially. But I also think it could be a real interesting time with the ownership, considering that I think we briefly touched on last week that he's been spent most of his time in Fenerbahce this season. So if we go down, I think it'll be a real indicator as to where he actually, if he actually wants to pursue this any longer. But the club could be massively, massively in the shit financially. I was reading something earlier today that the just on the TV rights alone, it's something like only 10% of the money that they get in the championship by dropping down a division, depending on how many games they end up getting selected for and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, not amazing. Annoyingly as well, I am not watching the game after the first half because I have to go out somewhere. So I am going to be that. I will apologise to everybody I'm spending Saturday afternoon with because I will be that guy that's on my phone until the game is finished.
Squeaky bum time, let's put it that way. So
Yeah.
that's Saturday's fixtures, but obviously it's a bank holiday weekend. And Monday brings with it a bonus fixture, which sees Crystal Palace taking on Nottingham Forest. I'm assuming this just counts as the fixture that would have been this weekend, but they've had to push it to the Monday to give Forest that extra bit of rest time from the Thursday game.
I think it'd already been moved to the Monday for I think it'd already been moved to the Monday for TV anyway. So it helped.
Yes, so Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest finishes our slew of games for the week. I'll jump in. I've gone for a 1-1 draw here. I thought Palace looked really good against Villa, so I think they might have quite a good end to the season. I've gone for Eze to score for Palace and Elanga to score for Forest. Andy has gone for a 2-0 Forest win. He's gone for Wood and Elanga to score the goals. Stu?
I've gone for a 1-1 draw. I've gone for probably the two stars of the show from the FA Cup weekend for either team, Mateta and Elanga.
Now, I had the other semi-final on the tablet whilst we were trying to sort out bedtime, and I completely missed the fact that he missed a penner.
Missed.
Oh,
Yeah.
not ideal. I feel it's only prudent for us as a podcast to talk about the amazing player that is Jean-Philippe Mateta. He is quite comfortably one of the world's greatest strikers, and I feel he should be thoroughly, applauded as such. For those of you who aren't sensing my sarcastic tone, I'm trying the reverse psychology method, as the last time we slagged him off, he scored about 800 goals since. So
Paul's also now about to burst into a 5-minute monologue about how crap Anthony Elanga is, just to put the extra sauce
shit.
on the other side.
Shit, that guy. Wouldn't dare pick him. He's slow as fuck. So, it's his team. He gets the honour and the privilege of closing us out this week. Mr. Moore, how would you see Crystal Palace versus Nottingham Forest playing out?
I've got a bit of a funny one. It's that kind of balance of do the Palace players try and keep themselves safe for the FA Cup final? So play a little bit kind of not scared, but kind of self-preservation, or is it far enough away from the semi-final so that they're playing for a place in the semi-final? Wharton looked good, Sarr looked good. They just looked really good on Saturday against Villa, who are a decent side. I've gone for a Palace 2-1 win. Just think they might be riding high. You got like nine days rest as opposed to Forest having a day less plus then playing a game as well. I've gone for podcast favourite Jean Mateta. I've also gone for Eddie Nketiah because obviously Forest tried to sign him. He'd virtually signed for Forest and then decided that he wanted to stay in London. And I've gone for Anthony Elanga to score for Forest. So 2-1 Palace.
So for those of you keeping score, ladies and gentlemen, that is a clean sweep for Elanga predictions across the board. So if he doesn't score, needless to say, we're all shit out of luck. Apart from Andy, who's got Wood as his backup. So yes, there you have it. 4 predictions in the bag. The outcomes of which we will obviously discuss on next week's podcast. Now, before we end, I believe there's now, I don't know how much you know about this, Matt, but we discussed it briefly in our little group chat earlier. There was some sort of shenanigans that's gone on behind the scenes at Nottingham Forest today in relation to Mr. Marinakis's. Is it officially that he's still listed as the owner, or is he still listed as the owner of the club?
Yeah.
But he's now not listed as the chairman, or you might be able to explain it better than
I couldn't quite work it out. It's like he's diluted his. I can't think how it was phrased. Let me try and find.
When you mentioned it earlier on today, I had a look into it a little bit, and it said that he's appointed 3 trustees. So he's given his shares up, pretty much control of his shares, to 3 trustees who act in his interest, however, aren't him. So this is how they're getting around the thing that you're about to discuss. But it said that they're not allowed to have contact with him with regards to footballing decisions that relate to Nottingham Forest.
So it's kind of a funny one because obviously he's the headline act, obviously through a variety of actions that he has, but he also does have a co-owner as well. So he's not the sole owner of Forest; he's just the headline act. To which he's come back into the club. I suspect the reason why he's done this is because obviously with there being him owning Olympiacos and Forest, there's been a relationship, therefore players going back and forth between the 2 clubs. In fact, Forest have 2, maybe 3 players on loan at Olympiacos at the moment. Canas, the defender, and I can't remember, a New Zealand midfielder, both playing there this year. Obviously, he has Rio Ave in Portugal, but I don't think they're going to be in the Champions League next year.
What? That is the first I have heard of this. This is unbelievable.
So obviously, as Man United found out last year, because Nice in the Champions League? Oh no, Nice were in the Europa League. They tried to buy a player from Nice, I think, and it was rejected because obviously both clubs are in the Europa League, and therefore that's working. So old Jimbo Ratcliffe, he's got Dave Brailsford, who's the master of marginal gains, didn't see this massive chasm in his plan. So yes. So yeah, I assume it's something to make sure that the Forest Olympiacos relationship can still go on. therefore lending players, loaning players, fiddling the books somehow. But apparently UEFA are going to investigate it. So I suspect it might be stopped, as it were. So yeah. Obviously it's the old kind of trying to get around things a la Chelsea, selling your women's club to your owner's company. It's called, was it Uncle Mel Finances or Uncle Mel
Well, yeah,
Economic?
it's straight from the Uncle Mel School of Bookkeeping. So
Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, it's all a bit trying to play the rules, trying to kind of play around them. We'll see where it gets people. Yeah.
all we need to remember, though, lads, is Mel Morris has got Stevie Gibson on strings. Just remember that, lads, whilst you were chilling out in League One for a couple of seasons.
Hey, it could still happen again if it goes the right way.
I was going to say, let's hope the results go the right way, and that delightful little club spends a little bit more time back in League One. That will be absolutely delightful. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is the predictions done for another week. Fingers crossed, I'm completely wrong about the Borough, and simultaneously, Preston win. That's not good for you, but Luton can lose. That's fine. So these are basically the results we all need for the weekend. I'm just gonna ignore Forest's sort of, well, fuck it. Yeah, Forest beat Brentford and Palace. Happy days. So the following results need to happen for our teams to end up in a good position. Preston beat Bristol City. Burnley beat Millwall. Stoke beat Derby. Hull beat Portsmouth, obviously, but if Stoke beat Derby, a point would do. Sheffield United beat Blackburn, and West Brom beat Luton. The other games don't really matter. Couldn't care less. If all that happens, I think there's a possibility that Borough finish as high as fifth in the league. So they would. And obviously Borough need to beat Coventry. I left all that out. It'd be absolutely typical. Knowing how the results have gone this season, all those results will come in, and Borough will draw with Coventry. So
the only problem with that plan is based on goal difference. If Preston do lose and Derby also lose, it's more likely that Preston will go down than Derby if we win.
well, no, because I'd have Preston winning to so that Borough
Okay.
could overtake Bristol City.
Fair enough.
So that's the only reason I want Preston to win. If obviously it's all going to shit, then yeah, Preston can get booked and Bristol City can have the win. That's fine by me. So yes, so those are the permutations. So of course, I will obviously be sticking a fiver on that particular accumulator, and let's see how it plays out. But yes, outside of the predictions and whatnot, if this is your first time watching us, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed what you've watched or listened to. If you did, maybe stick around. There's plenty more on the channel for you to be tucking into. Obviously, there's the entirety of this season that we've just gone through. I mean, why you'd watch them back, I don't really know, as you're not really getting much from watching our predictions for week one when, I'm predicting a huge thumping Borough win and they probably scrambled a 2-0 defeat or something like that. But yes, there's plenty in the back catalogue. If wrestling is very much up your street, we have a wrestling podcast that comes your way once a month where we go through the previous month's premium live event and look forward and predict the upcoming premium live event. Obviously, the latest one this month was WrestleMania. And there's one on the horizon in the next couple of weeks. So a wrestling podcast will be coming your way very, very shortly. If Formula One is in your wheelhouse, then the Straight to the Apex podcast has all of your F1 needs covered. And then, of course, Mr. Cook, his Darkest Timeline podcast covers all of the things that are going on in his brain, be that, well, dark, as the name might suggest. That's one to certainly consider. So, there you go. All done for another week. Join us next week where we'll go through the games we just predicted. Inevitably, Borough will have lost. I'll be incredibly annoyed. Hopefully, Hull haven't lost, and Mr. Woodmansey is a lot more happy than me. But yeah, we'll see. Until then, thanks. See you next week. Take care. Tatty bye.
There you go, what do you think of that? Another one done, another one gone. Thanks to the guys for bringing the football goodies your way. Big thank you to you for watching and or listening, and both, one, either. Before you leave us, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we have social media links and an email button, and that way you can get through to these guys. You can get through to anybody on the CookieCast network. Just say, hey, how you doing? Or love the podcast, or whatever. Right, that's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening to these grumpy old men talk about football. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe.